Good morning, Philadelphia, Tampa, and everywhere around the world. And we thank you for the premiere episode of Give Me Five with Ed Kracz and myself. Ed, first of all, I want to say thank you for not only being a part of this premiere here, as we're doing now a morning show with the Broad Street South Network, but also joining us on the Broad Street South team. We do appreciate it as which I will say the Eagles columnist, because we all know you've been writing for SI.com for the NFL Eagles for a while. So thank you for being part of the team.
Hey, my pleasure, Angel. Thanks. I really appreciate you having me on. No question. I'm excited about this and really look forward to it.
Yeah, it should be the fastest, I guess, morning show, if we call it that way. Either way, it's going to be like speed rounds, and I think it should be a good time. So, everyone, we hope that you enjoy this, and we'll get right into it, which it's going to be basically a 5-topic speed round, which we have a minute in between to make sure we can get our points across. And if not, we'll end up running to bonus time. But either way, this should be one quick moving morning show. So by the time your coffee is brewed in the morning, well, the show just about basically be over. So with that being said, we'll see if the stinger transition works, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, Ed, the first question we have here is that did the Colts make the right move by firing Frank Reich?
No, absolutely not. I think it was kind of a really harsh move to get rid of Frank Reich. I mean, he's not the problem in Indianapolis. It's a much deeper problem than just the head coach, but you can't replace all 52 players, so Frank Reich was the sacrificial lamb. So I think it was a mistake. I think that Frank Reich deserved a better ending in Indianapolis, and we'll see where it goes from here as far as, with him and the Philadelphia Eagles. We won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia in 2017 as the offensive coordinator, so we'll see exactly where Frank Reich lands. But no, it was not the right move for the Colts to fire him.
All right, I want to see if maybe even Dougie P calls him down there in Jacksonville, because that would be interesting, or maybe Nick Sirianni end up giving him a call. So either way, I agree. I think Frank should not have been fired. But again, Indy could be like Philly and seeing what happens next with their next coach. So with that being said, also, when it comes to Avant Maddox, obviously we've learned that he is not going to be in the game on Monday. Is this an advantage now for the Washington Commanders?
I think it is. I think, the Commanders have Jahan Dotson, the rookie, is going to come back to the field. He's missed a month with a hamstring injury. He played in the Week 3 game down in Washington. The Eagles, of course, won that game 24-8. But that just gives them another weapon. So you add another weapon to that Washington offense. You take a weapon away from that Philadelphia defense. And I think it's going to be a big loss. They have Curtis Samuel in the slot, who's one of their biggest producers offensively in the pass game. He's also a very good runner when they decide to run the ball with him. But I think that not having Maddox could play a role in, helping the Commanders score some points in this game.
I think it's probably going to be the sharpest that we've ever seen the Commanders this season, even though they're not too shabby, but they got a lot going on over there as well, and we'll get into that here momentarily. But also, social media hype this week, and we'll call it the social media buzz. We've heard that OBJ could possibly end up being with Dallas. How much do we believe that this could possibly happen? The former Super Bowl champion twice, once with the Giants, one the Rams, and now could there be a possibility that OBJ could end up landing with Dallas?
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have been very vocal about trying to bring OBJ on board down there in Dallas. And in my opinion, Dallas is the greatest threat to the Eagles in not only the division, but in the conference going forward once we get into the postseason. So this would be a real tilt in favor of the Cowboys if they were able to get something done. Now, the flip side of that, of course, is OBJ tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. He's still kind of rehabbing from that. Who knows what when he'll be effective, when he'll be able to return, and when he does, how effective he will be. But he's certainly a talent that can put the Cowboys over the top.
I believe so as well, which should be a threat for us, but we'll see, because I think the Eagles will still end up taking the division. And speaking of, obviously, one of the biggest challenges the Commanders will present to us, other than when you see the three gentlemen up there on the screen, Ron Rivera having a tough time out there in D.C. with Dan Snyder and company, and Carson Wentz obviously not playing the game as well. So what biggest challenge could the Commanders present to the Eagles this week?
Well, without Wentz in there, they have Taylor Heineke playing quarterback, and he's a pretty good quarterback. I mean, I remember last year's game. I think it was decided when Heineke threw an interception in the end zone when Washington was trying to take the lead late. Rodney McLeod picked it off to seal the win. So, he's a different quarterback than Wentz. It's going to be harder to sack him. Of course, the Eagles sacked Wentz 9 times in the first meeting. So, right there, this is a different team. And then you factor in Brian Robinson, the running back who didn't play in the first meeting. He's going to be a handful in the run game. So there are 2 different pieces that the Eagles will be looking at this week that they didn't see in their Week 3 matchup.
Well, we should definitely see what happens here Monday night. Everybody can check out the game at 8:30, of course. Prime time hours, so it should be very interesting with the Commanders here. And the last question here in the speed round is, which of these coaches, one being Brian Daboll, the other one being Kevin O'Connell, and then obviously our own Nick Sirianni, which one of these coaches could possibly become Coach of the Year at the end of the season?
Well, it's hard to look at Brian Daboll and not think he's done a terrific job with the New York Giants. They've been down for so long, and he's just doing a great job with that organization. But if you look at Nick Sirianni, this is an undefeated football team. Right now, he would have my vote at 8-0. The only undefeated coach left in the NFL. So right now, it'd be Nick Sirianni. And I don't say that as a homer type at all, but I just think it's deserving. But Brian Daboll is certainly somebody to watch. And then, of course, the Vikings have Kevin O'Connell. Nick Sirianni already beat him earlier this year, so I'd probably put him third in that mix. But certainly Daboll and Sirianni are going to deserve a lot of attention when this season's over.
Now, the big thing being, which I want to continue on here for a second, when it comes to between the Vikings and the Giants, probably I would say the most surprising turnaround out of any of the teams this year in the NFL, excluding the Eagles, but I think it's been a major turnaround for both teams. So it'd be interesting to see how the Giants, if even they play spoilers later on, because we still got to play them twice. So we'll see how it ends up playing out with the Giants and obviously with Minnesota when it comes down to the NFC. And I still believe maybe the Eagles can end up taking the NFC and heading into the Super Bowl. But we also believed, do the Bills represent on the AFC side?
Well, I think there's a really good chance, right? I mean, hopefully Josh Allen's elbow's okay. It looks like they only list him as questionable. We'll of course, we'll see how that elbow injury affects him going forward. But the Bills, really good team, and that'd be a really fun Super Bowl to watch. The Bills, of course, led by a Philadelphia suburban coach, and Sean McDermott got his start in Philadelphia with Jimmy Johnson. Just a lot of good local angles there if that were to be the matchup. But the Bills certainly have the capability to do it. But boy, that AFC is awfully tough. There are some teams in there that can get the job done. But right now I'd put the Bills at the top of the AFC heap.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see as we're getting into the second half of the NFL season. So lots of things going on. Obviously, the Bucs end up taking a trip over to Germany, which Tom Brady was excited about because he said it's the first time he's ever been over there, and he ended up going back. But it's going to be interesting to see how the second half of the season starts off. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in for the first episode ever here with us. Give Me Five with Ed and myself here. You guys can catch us here this week. It'll be a little bit sporadic, but after that, it could be a great possibility. We'll be on with you every morning at 6:30 a.m., Monday through Friday. So we'll see as things continue on. But Ed, once again, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. And, let's go Birds.